Hi, I'm Paula, and welcome to Paula Forrester's Mysterious Ways. I think we've all wanted to walk down Diagon Alley and explore the witch and wizard shops. While nestled in the Hudson Valley, you can get pretty close. Sugarloaf, New York, is an artist community just past Chester. On the main street, you'll find 3 shops, all a part of the light club Curiosity Shoppe chain. And you can't get any witchier than here. Bottles of oils, potions, crystals, and sprays line the walls. Spell kits and poppets hang from racks. And it's a mesmerizing experience to walk in the shop. Tonight we'll be talking with Melissa Somma, High Priestess and owner of these 3 shops, and there'll be a tour of her witchy ways. Then we'll speak with Rhiannon, an angel card reader and former lawyer. That's an interesting mix, who will explain to us how to use the power of the archangels and angels to help us direct our lives. But first, let's go to Sugarloaf and explore the enchanting world of the Light Club Curiosity Shoppe. Hi, welcome to Mysterious Ways. We're in Sugarloaf, New York at the Light Club Curiosity Shoppe with the owner and proprietor, Melissa Somma. Welcome, Melissa.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. It's a great day for Sugarloaf to have you guys here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Now, before you became a witch, your beginnings started in martial arts. Explain that to us.
Okay. I started in martial arts when I was 11 years old. My mother put me in it. I didn't even have a choice. And it was at a time when women or children, I started when I was 11, they did not train. So it was me and a bunch of men. So I really had to learn how to use other abilities. So the meditation became very important, that kind of sixth sense became very important, and that ended up directing me more onto a path where I was doing a lot more metaphysical exercises, basically just to keep up. But it gave me an edge, so it worked out pretty well.
Now, you're known as a chakra witch.
Yes. Yes.
Explain that to us.
Okay, that actually came from martial arts.
Okay.
That did.
I thought so.
Yeah, because just working through the chakras, of course it's an Eastern type of medicine. So when I started learning how to ground, then I ended up being directed a little bit more towards metaphysical work. Then the Celestine prophecy came in, all this type of stuff. And I ended up kind of learning how to balance that out for myself. And then after a while, a lot of people would come to me and start asking questions. And this was at a time when chakras weren't really as well known. So I've been doing it a long time, but I didn't even come up with a name. That's what everybody just started calling me. So
You're a chakra witch.
Yeah, I just kind of got baptized by the community with that one, yeah.
And you do readings with chakras, right?
I do. That's kind of my specialty, yeah.
Tell me about the readings that you do here at the Light Club Curiosity Shoppe.
The readings, I can do them in 2 different ways. Typically I start out with doing a balancing. So what I'll do is I'll start out with a pendulum, and I'll check all of the individual chakras to see where they are in balance, and then we'll follow up with an energy treatment, and then you'll be given anything else that's going to help keep that particular chakra in balance, whether it be crystals, oils, something like that. And that is it's an all-inclusive treatment. So it may start out in our reading room, our red room, which I'm going to show you that a little later, or the pyramid room. And the pyramid room is actually considered to be a violet flame chapel. So that can get pretty intense if we do a reading in there. So
Right.
it's I would say that type of reading is really more of a combination of not just a reading, it's also healing at the same time. And I do get a lot of people coming in asking, they don't know if they need a reading or a healing, they don't know what they need, they just know that something is off. That's typically when I direct them towards a chakra treatment, because it gives them both. Because when you find out which chakra is out of balance, it can indicate something that's going on in your system. So like, for example, if you are having issues with your third eye or something like that, there's something in your life that maybe you're just not looking at. So it is a reading and a healing simultaneously.
Now I'm a reader as well, and I get a lot of people that come to me that say they have negative energy around them, or black magic, or somebody zapping them. Do you get that here?
All the time. All the time.
And how do you deal with it?
Well, see, we're of the opinion that if somebody's coming in and feeling a certain way, feeling like they're covered with that, that type of heaviness, our idea is to just get their vibration so high that it no longer matches what they're feeling that's pulling them down. So, to be perfectly honest, I would just throw them in the pyramid. So I know that sounds a little extreme. Throw them in the pyramid. But it's just, it's a copper pyramid. It's a 6-foot tall copper pyramid. It's surrounded by crystals, and we're constantly balancing that thing out. And we actually don't open up the room unless we're doing a treatment. And it's used with, in conjunction with singing bowls, a bunch of other things. So it's really like an all-inclusive healing session. And basically whatever I got, I throw at you in a pyramid session. So that's what I'm of the opinion of doing that, because if you're vulnerable in some way, let's try to get you strong again so it doesn't happen continually. Because, if you have something, if you have a vulnerability or something, you can lift that, but it can happen again. So let's get you to the point where you're strong. So that's our philosophy.
And how do you say you have a magical enemy, how do you keep them from continuously coming after you? Say I get a healing treatment here, but they keep going.
Well, the thing is that I feel like if you're getting a healing treatment here, what I like to do is I like to leave you with a little package to take with you, like something of crystals or some type of defense that's going to give you an edge that you didn't have when you came in. So it's like a follow-up package. So it's not just the session itself. I want to make sure that you have something you didn't have before. So I'm going to try to educate you a little bit more and give you a line of defense, almost like giving you some vitamin C to take with you, but more on a metaphysical level type of thing.
And when someone comes in for a reading, the healing, the crystals, and everything is all inclusive in the price?
It's included, yeah. Whatever you need. Now, there's going to be certain things like I'll give you, and then there may be other things I recommend that you can always choose to purchase as well. But you will always leave with something that's going to help you with whatever you came in with originally.
How did you get started with witchcraft?
Actually, through healing. I was really more of the healing, because it always goes back to martial arts. When you're doing martial arts or something like that, there's a lot of injuries. So you want to learn how to heal yourself. And that comes in, and of course Reiki is a Japanese healing art. So that kind of came through the martial arts world first. There was a lot of martial artists who were exposed to that. And I actually
Last week we had a guest on the show who practices Chikuden Reiki.
Oh, interesting.
From Japan.
Yes, yeah. Because Reiki itself is a Japanese, it's a Japanese art. And, that came through because it's just very, very conducive to martial arts practice. You understand the meditation, you understand the symbols, you understand the whole treatment. So as that came through, then what happens is, as you pursue further, okay, well, what else can I add to my Reiki practice? What else can I add? And then it came into all of these other things, and I realized I could tie it into the divination that I was already doing. So there were so many ways that it just kind of blended together. And what I like is it came from all these different directions, so I kind of feel well-rounded in that respect.
And how did Wicca come in?
Wicca came in through the reading. I would say I started with Wicca when I was 18. I really started strongly with the Wicca when I was 18. But I never did just straight Wicca. I always blended it with other things that I had. Because, you know, with the martial arts you have traditional Chinese medicine, which also has 5-element theory. And it fit in very nicely with Wicca. So I just realized, I was like, okay, well that gives this another dimension. And then something else came in, then the Reiki came in, then the other things came in. You know, and then I ended up getting my license in massage therapy, and then all of that came a little bit more inclusive. So there were a lot of things that contributed to the Wicca. So I would never say that I did straight Wicca, but I'm an equal opportunist. If I like it, I practice it. So that's why we ended up kind of coming up with our own tradition. That's where that came from.
You started as eclectic.
Yes.
And then you
Eclectic.
became, explain to our viewers what eclectic is.
Well, eclectic is basically where you kind of take from, just pretty much what I do, where you kind of take from everything. So if, and then you can have an emphasis on something, like you can be eclectic but have an emphasis on Celtic or something like that. We do lean a little bit more towards Celtic and everything, but I also, with my background, there was a lot of Strega and Brujeria and stuff like that. So that came in as well, because that's a lot of folk magic that came in from my family.
Yeah, your parents
Yes.
were Bruja and
Yeah,
Strega.
that all comes in. So that's why, you know, eclectic always fit us very well, because if it was something that worked for you, you could keep it. Okay? I also had a very, very strong background in Catholicism. Went to Catholic school, almost became a nun. I know, a lot of people don't believe that one, but it is true. I did discernments. I
None
almost
of this
became a
and
nun.
none of that.
Yeah, and it's all and none at the same time. But yeah, that's something I actually bring into my practice as well, because if you look at the altar when you get to the pyramid room, there is Jesus, Mary, all the archangels are on that altar, everything. Because there are a lot of things going on in this world, and whatever positive energy you can grasp onto, I feel that you should.
Absolutely. I went to 8 years of Catholic school too.
Yeah, and it gives you that structure, you know, and in a way, you know, you're kind of conducive to ritual. You know, and you know, and then you start finding out things about it, and like, well, you know, let's not use that. Let's use this instead.
I used to want to be a priest, not a nun.
Yeah, because the priests
Because
did
of
all
the power.
they did all the stuff. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that was the first step where I was like, maybe nun is not for me, right? And because I don't get to do any of the services. But when I was little, my mother tells me this all the time. I don't remember this, but I used to tell her when I was about 5 or 6 that I was going to be the first female pope. I used to say that all the time.
But there were female popes.
There were.
Yes.
There were.
Yes.
Yeah, and I did not, you know, I must have known it on some level.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that knowing that, I think that I kind of fulfilled what I was saying, you know, just by going into this field. Because what's beautiful about the practice of the craft is you can take it in whatever direction you want to go. And that's why it's just so wonderful, because it really pushes you spiritually, and it makes you responsible for your own, you know, your own soul, instead of leaving it up to somebody else and having them tell you what to do. You get to decide what is right for you. And that's really what's so beautiful about eclectic practice.
Now you started your own tradition.
Yes, I did.
Tell us more about that.
That was because, honestly, it's the funniest thing. I don't always say, I'm going to start a tradition and I'm going to do this. It always ends up where it's kind of given to me, like the same thing where they just started calling me Chakra Witch, and they just started doing this, they just started doing that. And a lot of people were coming to me. They were actually being referred to by other covens. And they were saying that, you know, you would be a perfect fit for what she's doing. And I was teaching, but I didn't have like an organized thing. And then I just realized that when people were coming in and they wanted to continue to learn, I said, all right, well, I'm going to have to make a level 2 now. Now I'm going to have to make a level 3. And then I looked at it, and I looked at what I was teaching and how it was structured differently. You know, there was a lot of things that are very
Which
similar.
on other traditions would translate to first degree, second
degree, and third degree. So I just realized I was actually doing it. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a funny thing that it wasn't planned. It was just it organically grew on its own.
What is the name of your tradition?
The Sacred Order of Light. Yeah. And that's why, you know that it's connected to Light Club. But at the same time, I like to call it more of a sacred order because it gets across the idea that we're not doing just straight Wicca. We're actually taking it from all directions. Because there's some people that come to me, and I had somebody who just started my level 1 last night, and she was concerned because she has been raised Catholic and she did have a lot of doubts, but when she sat down with me and I told her I almost became a nun, she had no problem. So, and then we kind of talked about how we're both a little bit of recovering Catholics, and it went over well. She was very, very reassured, and I told her, bring your practice, because she prays a lot to the angels, and I says, bring that in. That's really going to enhance your practice when we start learning the 4 directions. So she was very happy about that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now you offer classes and workshops and readings here. Tell us more about that. So tell us about your workshops and your classes.
Well, the Reiki is ongoing, and what we do with the Reiki is, if you take a class, like if you take Reiki 1 or 2 or 3 from me, you have it for life. So every time we rotate around, like if we go back to Reiki 1 again and you want to take it as a refresher, you get to set it in and monitor it for free. The reason I like to do that is because as you produce Reiki masters, they don't always have a support system once they become master. And they never really learn how to teach. So if you allow them to come in and assist you, then they know how to teach and everything, and then they can go off and start their own classes. And they can always come back for a refresher if they're not confident. So it's just a way to allow them to build their confidence. Plus, if anybody knows me, I never teach the class the same way twice. It all depends on the people who are in it. So I've had some masters who have been practicing for like 2 years. They'll come in and sit on Reiki 1, and they'll hear me say something and say, I never heard that before. There was one time I think I was talking about the chakras of the earth, how the vortexes of the earth, and they're also chakras and where they are and everything like that. And this person was she was so fascinated, she ended up coming back and repeating classes for the next year, just on the basis of that one class. We also have ongoing classes in herbalism. We have classes, there's some feminine empowerment classes called the Wild Goddess. These are all ongoing. And then every once in a while we'll do a one-shot class where it's just something like learning how to do a craft, learning how to make a mojo bag, learning how to do a spell bottle, learning how to do sigils or something like that. So we try to keep it as well-rounded as we can. We have ongoing monthly sound baths with crystal bowls and just everything with that. Those are lovely. And then there's my once-a-year chakra course. Okay, and that is an 8-week course, and that's probably the granddaddy of them all. That is offered both online and in person, as are most of our classes.
Do you practice the Sabbaths here?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes, we do. Yeah. What we do is from October, basically from Samhain up until Ostara, they're indoors. We have a separate building for that. And once Beltane hits, we go from Beltane to Mabon, and those are outdoors. We have a back courtyard with a maypole, everything, big cauldron outside.
I was born on Beltane.
Were you?
Yes.
That's my wedding anniversary.
Is it really?
That's so cool. Yeah. Yeah, we got married on Beltane. My birthday's May 31st. My husband is around October 8th, so it's kind of cool because I have like the Beltane side and he has the Samhain side, so we kind of cover the light and dark half of the year.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So Beltane, baby. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah. Tell me how long the store has been here.
Well, we started in 2015. We actually opened up on December 12th, which is the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe, so she's kind of like our patron of the store. We started in a little shop across the street from the church, which is about 2 or 3 doors down from here. We got this spot, we bought the house in, I believe, 2016. So after about a year of that shop, then we moved in here and we were able to expand. So it's been really great. I mean, Sugarloaf has been very good to us because when we opened up, we only opened up 2 weeks before Christmas, and that was very risky. But it turned out well.
And now you have 3 stores.
Now I have 3, so yeah, it was not a mistake by any means. And a lot of people told us it was. You know, people would come in and say, this is the worst time to open a store. It's only 2 weeks before Christmas. You lost a Christmas rush, and then it's just going to be cold, and there's not going to be any walk-in traffic and everything. And I just would sit there and just kind of smile and nod, and, you know, because you're working with magic. You know, I don't have to worry. You know, I just light a money candle. I got all this stuff here. You know, I'm not too concerned. As long as I'm enjoying what I'm doing, I know it's going to grow. So they're really, the rules don't necessarily apply when you're a witch.
Right. Now you make a lot of your own products here.
We do. Yes.
Tell me about that.
Yes. Well, it's interesting because that's really conducive to Sugarloaf. Sugarloaf is an arts and crafts village. So most of the places when you go in, everything's handmade. I wanted to continue with that tradition. Plus, I'm a little bit of a snob. If I can do it better, I'm going to use my own stuff. I'm not going to use somebody else's stuff because I know it's going to work better for me because I made it. So we started out with a few small handmade products. I wasn't making as much when we were at the location across the street because I would have to make it at home, and then I lived 40 minutes away. I would have to drive it. So I started with a little workshop in the back where I was making stuff and everything, but then when I moved in here, I made an entire room just for production. And now, you know, my husband he pours the candles in the basement. You know, he uses basically our oils and stuff like that. He puts them in. And he does the candles. I do sprays, I do oils. We actually do most of our own jewelry here. All of the kits that we assemble, we have a lot of the herbs. I make sure that are hand-picked. Some of them are hand-harvested. There's a few that actually, we have people who bring them in dried, and then we will actually put them in. If I can't make it, I try to get it from another small business. Somebody that I know who does the products. Like if I do the sage, I make sure I get it from somebody I know. I don't like to get it from a big corporation or anything like that because I don't really necessarily know the energy behind it. If I get it and it's in the store, I want to make sure it's something I use or it's made by somebody that I know and trust. Because that way it makes it easier for you to come through and pick out stuff. You know, everybody always kind of comes in and responds to that, and I want to keep it as authentic as I possibly can.
So you're ready to give us a tour of the store?
Absolutely. We can do that.
Great, let's do it. All right. Melissa, tell us about your sage bar.
Okay, the sage bar, we just go through sage so much, and we started getting a lot of different types of sages because the ones that I do get, I get them from somebody I know who wraps them, and he was showing me all these different varieties that he had. So what we started doing is just putting out certain kinds at certain times of the year. So we would have like, okay, this is the sage of the month. This is that. And then we would have our regular sages. And it got to the point where people were coming in and asking and requesting those sages. So I finally said, let's put them all out. And we just let people pick individually. We have a sign telling what they do and everything. But a lot of times people will come in with a specific request and they'll say, well, which one do I need? And then we can do like a little consultation with that.
Nice.
So we just kind of let them pick according to what they need. And we always carry at least 8, but I have 2 more coming in for the holiday season. So we're also going to add, cedar sage, and we're going to be adding a lovely white sage with frankincense and myrrh in it. So I'm excited about that one because sometimes you just need a little extra something added to it to make the smell a little sweeter.
Okay. Tell us about your candles and your sprays.
Okay, the candles are actually made in our basement. They're 100% soy, and they're actually organic soy. And we do, my husband will actually pour these probably about once a week. We have to make a new batch of candles. And they actually have all of the herbs and the potion already in them. So it's kind of like an all-inclusive candle. Directions are on the back. But we have about 11 different kinds for all different types of purposes. And the same thing with the sprays. The sprays, that's something that I'm just making constantly. This is something we got very popular for. So you're going to see probably about 11 different types of sprays for all different types of purposes. And then we always have like a little seasonal one in the middle. So the Yule one isn't out yet. I'm one of those who I firmly believe that Yule shouldn't come out until after Thanksgiving. So we still have the Samhain spray out and everything. But you know, these special editions always come in the fancier bottle and everything. But each of them are made with moon water, a bunch of essential oils, and just a bunch of, a blend of probably about 12 ingredients each. So they're pretty complex to make, but I find myself making them constantly because they're so popular.
And what are the sprays used for? Where do you spray?
Spraying, let's say, I'm going to go with the OG. This is the first one I ever did, and this is the Excellent Energy. I came up with this formula when I was working 3 part-time jobs from 8 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock at night. I was exhausted. So I needed a boost over the course of the day. So this one is, you can spray the room, you know, just kind of bring up the energy in the room, but in general, I just mist, and my favorite, in the back of the neck. And then, yeah, there it is. Okay. Works pretty fast. That's probably why the sprays are so popular, because they work very quickly. So it all depends on what you want. You know, if you want it to work very fast, then you go for something like this. But if you want it to be ongoing, then you take the same idea, because it's similar ingredients go into the candle, then you would do the candle. Like, for example, if you wanted something for healing, okay, this candle will be an ongoing thing, particularly if you're dealing with anything chronic. So it all depends on what you're coming in for, and then we can recommend which medium would be the best for you.
Tell us about the spell kits.
The spell kits are fun. Okay. This is probably, when people come in, you know, one of the most popular items, this and the sprays, because people like to see the effect quickly, or if they don't have a lot of knowledge, this is very easy because it's step-by-step tells you. So, like, for example, I'm going to just take out the Love one, which has a cute little heart-shaped bag in it and everything. But it's pretty much, it's all-inclusive. So you're going to get the candle, the oil, the herbs, the holder, because that drives me crazy. You know, a lot of people, they'll buy the candle, then they go home, you don't have the holder. So, you know, if I'm going to give you a candle, I'll make sure you get the holder, and then the scroll is going to have all the directions in there. So when you open it up, you have everything just for a one-shot spell right there. And we have probably about 11 to, no, actually I think now it's 13 different kinds. And, you know, just ranging from remove barriers. This one would be for money and abundance. Another very popular one around this time of year, school success. Then there is the healing kit. That one's being used a lot. I have a family peace one that's going to become extremely popular right around now because all the families are getting together for the holidays. And then we also have new moon and full moon spell kits, and that one you can kind of tweak to whatever direction that you're looking for. So you can, what's nice about the spell kits is it gives you the stuff that you need. It gives you the directions, but you can always tweak it in whatever direction you want, so they can be personalized, because it's always up to the caster to make it work. This is the road opener oil. This one was done actually on request. I didn't have a road opener oil for the longest time. I usually just make it when I need it. But I had so many requests around a certain time of the year, I ended up making a big batch of it. And it came out much better than my smaller batches because, again, the entire coven helped make it. So it has a lot of power behind it. This one, this is, even though I had a huge batch of it, I only have about 12 bottles left now.
Okay, what are we looking at now?
Sun's Eye I've been using for a long time. Before I started making my own, this is how I started. So that's why I do still carry them, and I was actually lucky enough to go to the company down in Oviedo. So this is what I like so much about Sun's Eye is they will not sell to stores that are closer than 25 miles apart. So they don't want to oversaturate. So I really appreciate that in them. So we do carry the Sun's Eye and everything, but I also do make my own. And this is up here. Right now I only have the 3 kinds because most of them sold out. But what I did with the road opener, this is Power of the Witch, and this is Crown of Success. These 3 were all made on the last Friday the 13th that we did. They sat in a pyramid for 24 hours, and actually the entire coven helped. It was done in a ritual. So this actually has the energy of our entire coven behind them. And I always try to do that with my oils. That's why I might not have a lot of them, but the ones that I do are very powerful. So, and they're made pretty much whenever the conditions are just so.
Tell me about the homemade jewelry you make.
The jewelry, what's interesting about the jewelry is depending on what type of jewelry it is, it's made by a different person. Both of our store managers for this shop and the other one you'll be visiting make our jewelry. So the bracelets are done by this store manager, Wendy. She hand strings all of the bracelets, basically just in between customers. She's always sitting at the front counter stringing the bracelets. They sell pretty quick too, but on off days she has to come in and do them just to keep up.
Okay, what are we looking at now?
Okay, this is another primarily handmade area. Is up here we're going to start with the witch bottles. Okay, now with the witch bottles, that's pretty much for the protection of your home. A lot of people coming in for protection. These are always made continually by basically all of our craft practitioners all in our coven. If I'm not making them directly, it's somebody in the coven who's making them. So we have these. Then there's also, we do make our own Florida water. So that's made about once a month, just make sure that the time is right. We do indigo water as well, also known as peace water. And then we have rose water, which we all seem to use for toner for our faces because it just works great. And then there is the new moon water and the full moon water. Now, the main thing about that is what we like to do is we put right on the label what moon phase it was. This one in particular was actually hurricane rain. This was in, I believe, in August, 8/22. That full moon was a hurricane, so this is actually the hurricane rain from that. This one, this new moon, this is Lionsgate new moon, 8/8, so August 8th. So these in particular, these moon waters are especially powerful. Then we have our salts, so we have the white salt, the pink salt, and the black salt to have a nice variety there. And then, of course, down here, a lot of people like these little chime candles. This is probably one of the few things that I don't make, are these guys down here. But they are very popular if you want something quick. We do use them in our spell kits, however. And over here, the poppets, this is an area where I do get this from a vendor, but it is somebody I know. It is a woman from New Orleans who hand sews all of our poppets. So they went pretty quick. We had a lot more of them, but luckily I just put another order in. I can only order at certain times because she can only make them so quickly. So this is why you're usually going to see these go very, very quickly. So when you see the poppet you want, you got to snag it because they're not mass produced at all.
Now, poppets are also known as voodoo dolls.
Voodoo dolls, yeah.
What are they used for?
Ours are what we actually call them positivity poppets. So basically, it's it will have the reason for it. Like for example, okay, if you have the white one, this one in particular is for blessing and cleansing. So this would be a good one when we were talking before, people coming in feeling that they are cursed or something like that. This is a way of kind of uplifting you out of that energy. Okay. They can be used for protecting someone, like if you have a family member and you want to protect them even though you can't be around them, then you want something like this. So they will all have the reasons for them, and there is a little card on how to use them inside, because I don't like to send somebody away with something and they don't know how to use it. So basically on the back of everything that we have a label with the directions. And when you're buying it, you'll probably get a little lecture. We'll tell you exactly how to do it, just in case you don't read the label.
Hello, my name is Edward. Welcome to the Imaginarium Psychic Parlor, footsteps away from the light club Curiosity Shoppe. Here we do all types of psychic readings, including animal communication and Reiki and wonderful stuff to assist you on your path.
Hey there.
Now, Rhiannon reads at the Imaginarium Psychic Parlor, which is a part of the Light Club Curiosity Shoppe. She gave up a 20-year practice of practicing law to become a seer. Welcome, Rhiannon. Welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me. I'm very excited to be here with you today.
Great. What would make someone leave 20 years of practicing law to become a seer?
Well, partially it was because I got completely burnt out. am an empath, which many of you may know what that is. It's somebody who actually feels people's energy, feels their emotions. You feel and you feel and almost hear what they're feeling and thinking as well. So after a while doing child protection and doing political asylum cases and even doing some family law cases, it was just wasn't for me anymore. It certainly wasn't. I always had this in the background and always wished that I could do something like this for a living. I didn't think it would actually be possible, but it actually is, which is great.
And you
So-
began as a child where you used to see angels and entities in your home. Tell me more about that.
Yes. Oh my gosh. It started from the time that I was a very little girl. I remember seeing, apparitions. I remember seeing, people that had passed away. I would see angels as well, which, was very comforting, even though it was a bit frightening at first because they're very bright. They're very enormous. You're not exactly sure what you're looking at first, but that is right around the time when I was a child, when I noticed that I was interested in, how angels operate, who they are, what are they about, that kind of thing. And I, similar to Melissa, I had a religious background as well. I grew up Catholic, went to religious classes, all of those things that, most of us recovering Catholics do. And surprisingly, I met very many people that are either spiritual or religious that are recovering Catholics that have become witches or become healers or,
That's
do
very
readings and that
common
sort of thing.
that witches
Yes.
become Catholics become witches. It's very common.
Yes.
I think
very
it's all the
common.
ritual and the frankincense and myrrh and the candle lighting and all of that going on. You're used to it as a child.
Yeah, you are. And a lot of, the Christian and Catholic practices, as we all know, were pagan at one point. And I taught religion myself, for a long time, in school and religious school and that sort of thing, and became ordained as a Universal Life Church minister before I became a priestess under the Sacred Order of Light with Melissa. I also even attended a couple of years of seminary because I thought that was the direction I was going to end up going, which, ended up going this way instead, which is actually a lot better, and I can say that, even as a child, and you probably even remember this too, you couldn't ask questions in school. You weren't allowed, particularly
Right.
when it came to the religion. And I
Right.
was probably about 11 or 12, and I kept raising my hand, and the nun who was the principal called in my parents into school and said, this isn't going to work out for your daughter. And they were like, what happened? Did she do something? Well, she keeps raising her hand in class asking questions. And well, she's got reddish hair and 3 6s in her birth date, and she's left-handed, so she's going to hell anyway. So, there was always that that background of knowing that you believed in all of these things and that there were a lot more to it, but you didn't necessarily have to follow their ways. So that's something that I think is really important, is that people do find their spirituality and feel comfortable with it. And a lot of times, as we noticed in history, that, women do not feel comfortable in a lot of religions because of that. And that's why you see so many women who do become witches or become healers or seers or readers or all of those things.
Absolutely,
Because
yeah.
where do we belong, really, when you talk
Right.
about that? So, I'm very happy to be doing this. I've been doing this at Melissa's shop for professionally for a couple of years now. I've been doing it professionally, doing readings and things like that, particularly the angel readings for several years now. And I got certified under Radley Valentine, who is with Hay House, which I'm sure a lot of people who listen to your show know what Hay House Publishing is that they publish all types of religious and spiritual practice books. And I got certified as an angel reader under his teachings. So that's where I got a lot of my knowledge and background from, in doing readings.
Well, now what draws you to angel cards as opposed to, I know you read tarot, I know you do Reiki. and
Yes.
you do chakra work. But what draws you to angel
Yes.
reading?
Well, I feel with angel readings, there's a couple of different things. I use angels in just about everything I do. You know, if it's doing Reiki on someone, you know, I invoke them to come help me. They help guide my hands where I need to go to help heal that person. You know, with angel readings, again, I invoke them to give me guidance. I'm just a messenger, just a vessel. So those are one of the things and I also noticed too, that depending on type of the client that comes into the shop, what type of reading that they might need. You know, some do prefer tarot readings, you know, many do, but some who come in, they may not have ever had a reading before, or they're very, you know, religious in some way or another, and they are nervous. They're scared. They've been brought up, as many of us were, to think that tarot is evil. You know, it's associated with negativity. It's associated with, you know, the devil. It's associated with demons and all these different things, which is really, it's not true. However, you know, when you're dealing with angels and the angel readings, a lot more people feel like it's more of a gentler message, and it is. And they feel more comfortable with it because it's something or someone that they can relate to, as opposed to, you know, tarot. They're like, well, where do you get that knowledge from? Or how do you know this? You know, who are you asking, you know, these questions to find out the answers? Does that make sense?
Yes, and you work with two predominant decks. Which are they? And Anthony, could we see them, please?
Okay. Absolutely. Now I work with Bradley Valentine's cards, the Archangel Power Tarot cards. Now these are considered to be tarot cards because they follow the same numbers. They follow, you know, a lot of the same, you know, major cards, all of those things. But if you notice, and I'll give you a couple of examples in a minute too, because I wanted to go into also, before we do that, about the angels themselves and what they mean and that sort of thing, if that's okay. But that's
Yeah.
one of the major cards that I work with, the major deck I work with right here. I'll show you some of the cards as well. And I also work with crystal angel cards as well. I use that as part of my reading as well. This is from Doreen Virtue, who unfortunately, you know, no longer works with doing tarot or angel readings of any kind. So it might be hard to find this deck of cards these days, but what they do is they show the corresponding colors and crystals, because a lot of people also feel more comfortable with crystals as well. And it shows you a specific message, for instance, with which corresponding crystal and which one resonates with you. And it gives you, like, say, for instance, smoky quartz. See, you can see the card here. I'm trying to put it close enough so you can see. And smoky quartz, for instance, as a crystal, is talking about clearing negativity. Okay. And it's saying to release negativity from within or around you. So you can call upon any of the angels that you like to ask to clear negativity, for instance. Does that make sense?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
that's one of the ways that I also use that and incorporate that in my reading as well. And then what I do is, based on the recommendations from the cards, you know, from the angels, and also physically having crystals on my table. And I have them pick a crystal. A lot of times it'll correspond, which we'll go over in a minute, which angel resonates with them based on the crystal that they grab too. And also the color of the crystal that they grab. And it also talks about your chakras, which I'll also go over which chakras correspond with which angel as well. So I was taught also by Melissa, you know, how to read your chakras. I use a pendulum, and I'll go in the reading doing each corresponding chakra, which ones are open, which ones are blocked, which ones need work, and why. And then you can talk about which corresponding angel that they can either ask for affirmations or pray to, or that sort of thing, in order to be able to solve that issue, that the dilemma that they're having. So what I wanted to go over first is talking about the God Squad, I call them, you know, the angels, if that's okay. So I wanted to go over first. There is actually a hierarchy and a pecking order, you know, to these angels. So you have, there's nine different orders of angels, so to speak. So it depends upon which ones will come to you based upon what you need the most. So you have the seraphim, the cherubim, the dominations or the dominions. Then you have thrones, principalities, powers, they're called potentates or powers, virtues. Then you have the archangels, and then you have angels or guardian angels. So that's, the pecking order that they're in. And what they do, and a lot of times I think people like angel readings, and feel more comfortable with them, is that it makes it possible for God to fit into their lives in one way or another, or whoever their God is, whoever their ascended master is, whoever that they either pray to. It doesn't matter.
We just froze.
That's not good.
What religious that you are, God's awesome, and or whomever that you resonate with, you can contact him without being overwhelmed completely. They're kind of the go-between for them. And it's like, for instance, how we have transformers and they reduce the electricity in our houses so that when we touch something, we don't go zzz. It's kind of like in that respect. Like I said, they help everyone, whether you're followers of some type of faith or not, and they come to each of us separately and simultaneously. So Archangel Michael, for instance, can be helping people simultaneously, all at the same time, and not have to worry about being in 1,000 places at the same time. So that's great that they exist beyond our, limitations of space and time, which is also really helpful too. And
Now, you were telling me before that Archangel Michael's color is blue in the chakra world, but he's always
yes,
depicted wearing
yes,
red.
in the chakra world, yes, he does wear red quite a bit, because red is also, the color of fire, and its power and its protection. So a lot of people associate them, the color red with Archangel Michael as well, even though in terms of the chakra order, he's blue. So that's just something that I think is very important to point out as well. So I'll go over that as well in a minute. But the Michael, Raphael, Gabriel, Uriel, those are the ones that we know of the most, the ones that get mentioned the most or asked upon the most. So with the archangels, for instance, they have the big seven, even though there's way many more of them than that. There's different reasons that you will call on specific ones. There's too many of them to count. It's just so to speak. But when you talk about north, south, east, and west, when you're doing your four corners, even, you can call upon the four, the four big ones that work directly with that, for instance. And I'll go over that in a second, because they you have north, you have south, you have east, you have west. So say you're invoking the north, you would invoke Uriel, and Uriel is the earth element. Then you have east, which is Raphael, and Raphael's the air element. Then you have south, which is Michael, which is the fire element, which is a lot of times you'll see him wearing red robes. And then you have Gabriel, which is west, which is, water element. So those are other ways that you can actually invoke them. And a lot of times before I do a reading, or I do readings for the day, I invoke them. I have a specific invocation that I use, and you can use any that you like. If you wanted to invoke them at all, or get them in their attention, you can do an invocation. You can even just say their name. You could, they wake up with Psalms and Proverbs, believe it or not, because they allegedly had written them, according to a lot of different religions. So if you even say a Psalm or a Proverb, they wake up and they're like, what's going on? What do you need? That's another way of invoking them into your life. Yeah, they wake right up, because they, depending upon which one, which Psalm, proverb that was written. So it's really cool.
Can you ask them for help?
They also are absolutely, you
Can
have
you
to.
ask them
This
for
is
help?
the biggest and most important thing, is that you have to ask them for help, because no matter what type of spirituality or religion that you're part of, we all have free will. So they cannot be allowed to intervene on our behalf unless we ask them to. So a lot of times what ends up happening is that you want them to, to help you, But if you don't ask them, they're not going to be able to. So that's the most important thing that I tell my clients too, is that you have free will. So if you need their help, you have to ask them. Otherwise, they kind of just stand there going, I don't know why she's not asking me for help. I'm standing here waiting. So that's something for them, for them also to think about as well. Okay. So they also sit before, that according to a lot of Christian teachings, they're also part of the battlefield as well. So that's another thing to be brought up is, they have different high ranks as well. Like Michael, for instance, a lot of times with police officers, firefighters, they invoke Michael, to be protected, before they go out. There's also, when you talk about the archangels, they're the ones that work directly under whoever your ascended master is that you believe in. They work directly, the archangels. So that's what I wanted to go quickly about the differences between why can't I just call a guardian angel to help me? Or why can't I just have a regular angel help me? So there's the other situation with that as well. So they belong directly to him, apparently. And all the other angels, have different duties and that sort of thing. So like an angel, for instance, they're messengers, just like we are as readers. We're messengers. We're just, they're vessels bringing a message to you. Okay. So a lot of ways that people get messages is what I also wanted to talk about, is that a lot of my clients see different numbers jumping out at them. Why do I see 1111 all the time, or 555, and there's a specific book that you can use to look them up, and they're direct messages from the angels, for instance. So, somebody will say, well, why do I keep seeing 111 or 1111? And that is actually a specific, direct, urgent message from your angels saying to you, watch what you say and what you think and what you do, because it manifests externally almost immediately. Because another thing that I think a lot of people aren't aware of is that the angels, especially the archangels, work with the law of attraction. They work with, that in that respect. And they communicate a lot in numbers. So that's something as well that is very important for people to know, is that all I got to do is look it up and say, or even, ask myself or somebody else, what is this number? What is this? So a lot of
What
times,
is the name of that book that you're holding?
It's called Angel Numbers 101. There's lots of different books that you can use, but this one in particular tells you all the different numbers. You can also go online to Joanne's Sacred Scribes, because there's a lot more numbers, on that particular site as well. So I'll use that as part of my reading. Is I'll ask them, do you see any numbers that jump out at you? Because those are direct messages. You're missing some of the signs and symbols. You don't see the feathers being thrown at you. You don't see other messages. You don't, that song on the radio. That's another way that angels communicate as well. All little different things like that. So they're high-ranking messengers, so to speak. And they also, they just basically, what's the word I'm looking for? There's differences, like I said, between the angels and the archangels. So I'm going to go that direction now. An angel is simply a heavenly worker, so to speak. There's many different types that I wanted to go over with you really quick, the different ranks and that sort of thing. And many of us walk the earth as angels, and a lot of people don't realize it, such as, for instance, an earth angel, is a person whose life purpose, for instance, which is a lot of people who are empaths, healers, they're there to heal people, they're there to help people, and they, may have been a human at one point, but now they've come back to learn, new life lessons and to learn to heal. So there's the difference. An angel, guides, they, a person, they observe people. The archangels are there to strengthen you. Okay. That's one of the biggest things, is they're there to help you with life lessons. They'll bang you over the head several times in reading to give you that same message as well. So that's the biggest thing, is that they also reveal a lot of messages and prophecies and mysteries and things like that, which is wonderful. So there's millions of different types of angels. We've talked about the big seven. Don't mind my dog. Sorry about that. So, but there are 72 angels that are supposed to invoke that Moses, for instance, used to use. He used to name all 72 of them all in a row to be able to manifest things and have magical things happen. So a lot of times, if you are mentioning some of these words, you know, you're going to manifest something in the end. So that's what they also talk about. That's more like the Kabbalah, the Kabbalists, so to speak, talked about Moses and how he called upon God and that sort of thing. So now I know that there is a lot of people talking about fallen angels as well. Now, depending upon who you're talking to, whether or not that they're helpful to you, they can actually also be very helpful to you as well. Okay. You're talking about with, for instance, the book of Enoch, who is Metatron, who is the head of all of the archangels, in case anybody's ever heard of Metatron before. That's who Metatron was, actually the only human that walked the earth that became an archangel. All the other archangels that we will be talking about, right? They're all heavenly beings. They've been celestial since the beginning of time. So fallen angels, depending upon which type of religion that you talk about or spirituality, you know, they were either expelled from heaven, or they're demons now, or they work for Lucifer, and Lucifer is also considered an archangel, believe it or not, as well. You know, so there are all these different teachings and thoughts, and sometimes during the readings, you're not sure who you're going to get sometimes, but most of the time they're all benevolent. So that's a wonderful thing, you know, to talk about. So there are different zodiac signs that I use that talk about angels during the reading. There's days of the week, there's the planets. Oh my goodness, we can go on and on. But the first thing that I want to
we're
talk
down to
about
4 minutes. Brianna, we're down to 4 minutes.
Really quick.
Okay.
Gotcha. We'll be real fast. You've got the 12 signs of the zodiac. So this is something for if you're talking about something about yourself. A lot of times when you're born a specific date and time, a specific archangel represents you. You were born in their house, so to speak. So you've got Aries, for instance, is Mechidiel. That's the angel of March. Then you've got Taurus, which is Asmodel. Then you've got Ambriel, which is May. Then you've got Muriel for June. Then you've got Verkiel for July. You know, we can go on and on and on. You know, we can talk about Uriel is Libra, Virgo is Raphael, you know, Gabriel is Pisces, you know, Barbiel is Scorpio, Sagittarius is Adnakiel, Daniel is Capricorn, and then you've got Aquarius, which is Gabriel or Cambriel. So those are some of the ways that you can actually figure out which archangel resonates with you the best, is based upon when you were born. We can go into all of those different things and their particular things, but we could talk about days of the week. Days of the week are very important because there's specific times and days of the week where there's specific archangels that have specific purposes, and you can call upon them during that time. So you have Sunday is Michael, Monday's Gabriel, Tuesday's Camuel, Wednesday's Raphael, Thursday is Sakiel, Friday is Aniel, and Cassiel is Saturday. So you can use separate days of the week. You can talk about, now the chakra colors are important too, because we do chakra work and we do check your chakras. So for instance, we were talking about Michael, you know, with the red. Actually, the root chakra is Camuel or Samuel. Okay. And that talks about, you could talk about hematite, ruby, red jasper, and you can use a small affirmation or prayer to invoke that particular angel. Okay. And with your root chakra,
Do the archangels require offerings? If they do a favor for you, do they require an offering?
Not archangels do not. If you're talking to fallen angels, if you're talking to other entities, gods, goddesses, deities, they would strongly suggest using an offering. With the archangels, you don't have to, which is very reassuring for a lot of people, because a lot of people wouldn't know what to offer them. With your sacred,
okay, we're down to less than a minute. But if somebody wanted a reading with you, how would they get in touch with you?
How you can get in touch with me? I work at the Light Club Curiosity Shoppe on Saturdays and Sundays from 12 to 5. You can call the shop, or you can go to mylightclub.com and you can actually book a reading with me there. Or you can go on to rhiannonslove.com. You can also go there to have a reading with me and as well. So I do have a Facebook page and Instagram, and you can find me that way.
Thank you, Rhiannon, for being with us. You've been very informative, and may the angels
Thank
be
you so
with
much.
you.
I wish I could have told you more. I wish I could have told you more, but as you can see, I have all the Archangel cards here, and that they're
Yeah.
almost identical to tarot in a lot of ways.
Next
Just a
time,
gentler message.
we'll do another show on archangels and angels.
Wonderful. Would love that. Thank
All
you
right.
so much for having.
Thank you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. We'll see you again next Tuesday. And until then, have a wonderful week and blessed be.